Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Car Chat podcast. I'm here today, or Sam's here today. I'm Sam, and Sam.
It's very confusing.
I'm already See Through Glass is here today as well. We're in the room with the lovely curtains.
Beautiful curtains, actually.
For those that are an audio format.
Is there a link to those? Is there a discount code for those curtains?
Yeah. So, well, if I could change them, I would. And if someone wanted them, I would give them to them.
Okay.
But I don't really...
But it's not an endorsement. You're not promoting these curtains.
These are not Porsche branded.
Okay. Because they're the kind of material that I would put on the seats of my own Porsche. I got to be honest.
Yeah, you know what? That's the
thing
people are going after.
Yeah. I'm all for it.
So I was having a look back. Oh, can you for the people that have not come across you before?
Sure.
Can you give a 2-second who you are, what you do?
Yeah, hi, Sam, Seen Through Glass. Very bad YouTuber, producing videos that are a dodgy ripoff of Top Gear of old. I tend to say it's adventures with cars. I am not a journalist. I do not pretend to be a journalist. I am just out there living my best life and making videos about it.
Do you think that you are straying into journalism? Right, well, wait for it. Because you do you have a podcast.
Yeah.
Behind the Glass. And you cover a lot of news topics.
Yeah, but the point of our podcast is it is pub chat. You know, it's spawned because me and this guy Tony, he's a used car dealer from I really undersell him when I say that. He's a used car dealer. He's an entrepreneur. He's a business owner, but he sells cars from Kent. We were having these long conversations on the phone and WhatsApp about cars, and we thought, well, let's just record this. So we don't come at it from like a super informed, intellectual, thought-provoking kind of way. It's supposed to be, just chat. And it's the same with my videos. I do review cars, so I can't say like I'm not a journalist. I do review cars, but again, it's more just like general observations or opinions. I'm never there to tell you, it understeers at 30 miles an hour, because I just don't know. I couldn't tell you if it understeers at 30 miles an hour, but what I can tell you is how that car makes me feel. If that means that I'm crossing the line or blurring the lines between YouTuber, vlogger, journalist, fine, I put my hands up to it, but I definitely don't set out to review product, to be like a journ. You've asked me a really good question that I don't have the answer to.
It's an interesting, because I've been thinking about the same thing recently of like, who am I? The deeper questions.
What are we doing here?
What is the point? All that. But you do go, okay, I do talk about a lot of stuff. I don't know, I have opinions. Whether they're valid or not, that's for other people to decide. But, and then you're like, I think I'm straying a little bit. I interview people about cars and whatnot and all that malarkey. But I don't know, I think I'm a lot further away from that. In my head, anyway.
Is it because we haven't actually formally trained in journalism that we feel like we can't call ourselves journalists? I don't want to call myself a journalist, but is that what it is?
Or also, like, I'm not employed by a publishing house or anything. And I think that's an element of it as well. Like, if you were writing for a magazine like Autocar or something, you're like, well, I am a car journalist. Like,
sure.
Because there's a column at the beginning of the magazine that says my name and says journalist.
Yeah. Okay, but then, so two questions to throw back at you. What do you call yourself? And then secondly, what if Autocar approached you and said, off the back of the podcast, we'd love you to have a column in the magazine? Would you do that?
Well, I call myself Sam.
What's your profession? Are you a podcaster these days?
I think I'm a podcaster these days. Podcaster, photographer, quasi tiny little influencer possibly in there. And I only say that because sometimes people pay me to do things, which is brilliant. Generally, I don't try and mix too much. If I'm getting paid, it's kind of obvious that I'm getting paid, and it's normally these days for me, it's like photography, or it's a mix of the whole blend. But yeah, it's weird. It's weird. There's not one. I don't have one thing.
Yeah, you're spread across many things. Sometimes
they get introduced, and this does my head in. I wonder if you've had this. And they say, "Hi, so and so. This is Sam." This works very well. Sam, for me, they go, Sam had a blue F40. And I'm like, okay, I'm not sure this is relevant to the conversation. And I think that doesn't say, but to me, that's not like, oh, great, cool. That says everything about me and everything I do in my life.
So I am assuming that this is the same for, hi, this is Jennifer Aniston. She was in Friends. Do you not think she goes, oh, God, like, because...
Yeah, it's worse than that, though.
It's way worse. Like, it's way, way worse. You can't...
It'd be like, hi, this is Jennifer Aniston. She...
once owned
a something dress or whatever.
Yeah,
and
no,
you're like,
it's really bad. And as you say, like, it really doesn't portray who you are. But as a way to, within our sphere and world, where a lot of people are identified by their handles, by a video or by a car that they've owned, people maybe assume incorrectly that the best way to identify you to somebody else is the blue F40.
Yeah.
When you're right, it's actually a ridiculous way to explain who or what you are, and quite,
because you get really weird response. No, you get quite. If you imagine what's the response. So let's say someone introduces me like that, and I'm like, yeah. I mean, okay, cool. And then the other person is like, if they're kind of normal, they're also like, so
yeah. How's that relevant?
Not really relevant. Like, cool car, but so what?
Cool story. I guess, yeah, there's a certain, and actually if the person goes, oh wow, I almost don't want to talk to that person. Do you know? Like, if they go, hi, this is Sam from Seeing Through Glass, he owns the Ferrari 360, or like he has because
what if they said, oh yeah, you're that Ferrari guy?
Yeah, that happens a lot.
How do you feel about that?
Okay, so actually, I'll tell you what the more telling thing is. What happens when somebody says to you, what car do you own? What cars do you own? That's the one. So it happens a lot to me, especially people who don't know what I do for a living. Yeah, and they're
Which one has to assume is everyone?
I always assume is everyone. My wife really gets cross because people come up sometimes, very rarely, and go, hey, you're that, and I'm like, They go, I know you from somewhere. I'm like, do you? I will never say, no. You might recognize me from such hits as A Bird Poos on Me in Priceless Ferrari. But no, if someone says, oh wow, so what cars do you own? I always just say, BMW X3.
That's the move.
I never ever say the other stuff.
Does it depend on the situation though?
Very rarely. Even if I'm in like Goodwood members meeting, like really it's very rare that I will talk about the sporty stuff. I get the opportunity to drive loads of things, but I just never feel the need to go in with, okay, if I'm in Maranello talking to a Ferrari factory test driver, I'm probably going to lead with the
Porsche,
360. Right? Probably going to lead with the 360. But in most non-car situations, but even in some car circles, I'm still quite hesitant to reveal what I have because I don't know. Maybe that
it feels weird. It feels weird, especially if you're like, depending on who you're talking to. We went to a wine tasting the other day, and for some reason, we had to sit down on a table with like 6 other people. And like, I did not plan on this. I just kind of wanted to go drink some wine with my wife and have a chat and like have a break from life.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, talking about what do you do, blah, 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 blah. And someone was talking about some eco stuff. And then they're like, immediately they're like, oh, you're a car person. And they're like, how many cars do you have? And you're like, this is not, I don't, am I just going to lie to you? Or I'm going to tell you the right answer and you're going to be very confused. So I told them the right answer at the time. And they're just looking at you like,
yeah.
Why do you need 5 cars? And you're like, I don't.
There's no way to justify it. And then also, if you say that you're a car person and you're into cars and you're in cars, you can get the flip, which is the other person who is into cars, but not at the level that we have to be because of our jobs.
Serious geekiness, yeah.
So, for example, I walked up at our podcast studio the other day and I was in a McLaren Artura. And
nice.
Yeah, very nice. And there's a guy gets out of a van. Oh yeah, I like this. And I immediately like, it's not mine. It's not mine. Like I've been lent it.
Stole it.
He goes, all right, that's not too bad, is it? What are you doing with it? So I just take photos, like, I don't take any photos, by the way, but it's the easier way. I'm not going to say I make a
You
YouTube
take some
video.
photos.
Well, I mean, on my iPhone. Anyway, so then he starts to tell me that he's got an M4 and he's done a few track days at Silverstone and Brands Hatch, and there's some really good track day experiences that you can do. And I just don't want to be that guy who says, yeah, cool. Well, last time I was at Silverstone, actually I was with Nico Hulkenberg. Like, you don't like, do you know what I mean? So I'm just like, and they're going, oh, wow, oh, cool, yeah, I'll check. He's like, oh, do you want me to give you a card? Like, I know. And I'm like, so it's really hard, I think, to not come, but maybe we're too British.
Don't be a dick.
I think we're too
it's
British.
just don't be a dick. Yeah, we are. That's it. It's also
we should just dive in with we've got 55 cars and we're super successful. We've got millions of followers and I've driven everything and but that makes me feel sick. The thought of saying that gives me the heebie-jeebies, and I think it is. I think we're too British. I think if we were Americans, we would celebrate our successes more, because they are successes. The fact that we've been able to buy these cars, own these cars, have the experiences we've had, create these businesses for ourselves, like that should be applauded, but I hide it to the maximum of my capabilities.
I had this morning. So I was at Porsche Silverstone, driving a car, as you do. I mean, why else would you be there?
Sure.
Experience Centre. And the person, your instructor for the morning, comes out and goes, hi, I'm sorry, I don't know what his name was.
Yeah.
He was a good bloke though. Even what's your name? And then like, what do you want to do today? I don't know. Drive some cars, learn something, have some fun.
Sure.
That's about it, really. I don't really care much other than that. And then they have this conundrum, because you're like, in theory, let's just say you were American. Americans are very good at this. You'd go at the start of the day, right, I'm just going to give you a car driving, whatever history, which is all the information you actually need to know.
Yeah.
And then we can move on with our day and we're good. Whereas I'm like, yeah. He's like, have you been here before? I was like, yeah.
So honestly, let me ask you a question, because I did this. Did you pretend at any stage that you hadn't driven a car that you had already driven, or that something was new to you that you already knew about?
Okay, I do this. I didn't actually do this today, but I've done that on test drives.
Yes.
Not necessarily new, but I'll if you're stuck in a car with someone for 30 minutes or whatever, testing a car, you're like, I've got to have some chat, some conversation. And generally with, let's say, Porsches, I'll ask them about some really nerdy, whatever, feature, etc. I probably know the answer.
Sure.
But I'm going to ask them about it because it's something to talk about and they can talk.
Same thing, any of those experience centres, or you're going somewhere and they're just doing a job, and I'm sure 99% of the people they get in, they're driving these cars for the first time, and they'll sit you, and I just don't want to ruin their flow.
No.
I don't want to be like, I got it, bro. Like, I don't want to be that guy who goes, watch this.
Yeah. And then just send it off the track.
Literally. So I just let them spiel, and I'm like, wow, cool. That's traction control. Wow. Amazing.
You actually do that?
Genuinely, I pretend like I'm clueless. And then they're like, oh, have you driven a Porsche before? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember it though. Okay, bye.
I don't go to that level. Because then that sort of thing, you go out and drive and they can pick up very quickly whether you have a clue.
I guess. Well, not with me.
Well, yeah. Well, there you go. They can pick up very quickly whether you have a clue or not.
They're like, God, this guy is he'll never get a sports car.
But it was... So I was meant to be driving a GTS. Ended up driving a Carrera S.
Okay, nice.
And actually, before that, I thought, I'd quite like a 992 GTS. And I've decided I don't. I'm going... I think this is partly because of the other car, this part outside. Sure. But I think I'm either like, now I'm kind of like hardcore or luxe almost. Mm-hmm. Buying a base 911 is not a luxe car in that sense, but for me for my road driving, actually something like a C2S makes a lot more sense. The genuine, I think, pick of the bunch, actually this is a lie, but this is where it gets interesting.
I drove the famous base 911, the base 911 Carrera last year.
911 drive, basic 911. You went to the Alps or something?
Well done, yes. Went to Austria, started last year. So I must have done 1,500 miles in it, or 2,000 miles or something like that, Austria and back.
It's good going.
It was great going. And I had previously been a bit of a 992. Hater's a really strong word, but I was like, I don't get it. It's like a Bentley. Like, is this a Porsche? Like, what? It's like too big. It's too comfortable.
What's this cup holder in the middle?
Oh, don't get me started on that. It can't be that comfortable. Like, you know, and I absolutely loved it. Like, it was just such a great experience. And my Carrera T, my old Carrera T, had a similar characteristic, which is kind of back to basics, pure, not analog at all, but, you know, that just kind of simple driving pleasure thing. And at the time I said, they really needed to do a manual, and I would have liked it if they'd done a couple of the options.
Yeah.
But actually maybe that's why it was so special, because it was just a sort of real box fresh 911 Carrera. The Carrera T, the new Carrera T, apparently hasn't got the charm of the old one, but I literally was with the guys from the Octane collection yesterday who took a Carrera T to a big drifting day in Nürburgring and said it was amazing. Said it was awesome. They absolutely loved it.
Well, all of those cars are all a selection of options, basically, that you can spec. So there's no reason. This is where I think it gets in the sort of journalistic. If you read a magazine or whatever, they'll often tell you that the base, nothing on it, is the best. I think it's the best value.
Sure.
But if you're speccing a car, for me, there's other things. Like, it's definitely the best value because you get all of the car, you get basically everything, but without paying any extras, and the extras are always very expensive. It's very easy to whack on 25 grand onto a 911, like super easy. But what extras do you put on?
I think
there's things I have to put on.
Well, but then if you're doing 911 Carrera plus options, then you should get the S. Do you know what I mean? Like, or the T. Because I think that the base 911 Carrera only makes sense without anything. Like, because the
Not even like a Bose stereo.
Okay, so this is what is fascinating, and I actually thought the sound system was good enough.
Yeah.
Because it's so sound dampened, that car, the cabin is quiet, that I never found an issue with, and I listened to a lot of music, a lot of podcasts, very happy. The bass lights, absolutely fine, didn't need PDLS and blah, blah. Sports Chrono or whatever, didn't miss it. I don't think you can have it on a 911 Carrera, can you? I think anyway, but
don't know.
It's just that thing where, because of price, the minute you start adding stuff and the minute you start getting close to a Carrera S, you might as well it's only going to be $5,000 more, and financing and everything and resale value. The S is always going to hold its value more than a 911 Carrera. So, but I would have the T. If I was going to start putting options, I'd have the T.
But then let's say you look at the Carrera and you go, well, I would have like a couple of things, so I might as well get the S.
Yeah.
Then you start looking at S's and you're like, well, I'm going to have rear wheel steering because you've got to have rear wheel steering. Yeah. And then you start looking at a few other bits and you're like, well, I should probably just have the GTS. Like it's an incredible slippery slope.
Yeah. I think fundamentally the simple answer is, if you want the ultimate or a well-spec'd 911 road car, the GTS is your simple answer. If you're looking to save money or reduce some of the options, then go lower.
But I would get the GTS without the GTS suspension, personally, just for me. Now,
No, fair. So you would basically get an S spec'd up to a GTS, except the drop in the suspension.
Yeah, and I'd have the noise insulating windows.
Yeah. Fair. Hey, a great car. But I'd have the T.
Yeah,
I'd have the T.
Because the T is
the 911 Carrera with the manual gearbox.
Has it got rear wheel steering or anything like that?
Yeah, you can do all the funny bits. So it's in that video that I made a year or so ago, I complained. I was like, you should be having manuals. It's because they were waiting for the T.
Yeah.
So they're just very clever, Porsche. But yeah, that's if I didn't have a GT3, I'd be very tempted by a T.
Let's talk about the GT3.
Oh, please.
So you were last on the podcast, Feb 21. That's setting the...
Okay.
All sorts has happened since then. One of which is you've got a GT3.
Quite mad, right?
How has that journey been?
How did that come about?
Who did you talk to?
A lot of Porsche forums have been asking. How? So I don't know if I'd driven the car. I'd driven a 992 GT3 last time we did one of these. But anyway, always loved it. The moment I drove it, basically bugged my dealer from day one. even when the car launched, I said, I'll have one. They were like, good luck. And then I drove one. I said, no, I really want one. Bugged them. They kept saying, look, unlikely. And then kind of all went a bit quiet. And I just randomly put up an Instagram story being like, I still really want one of these. And I got an email that night from the dealer principal saying, I didn't realize you wanted a wing car. I thought you wanted a touring. Like, if you want a wing car, I got a slot for you. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll take it. And it was great, like I had spec'd a car from new prior. I'd spec'd a Jaguar F-Type, but there was something different about spec'ing a Porsche, spec'ing a GT3. Like, it felt like a super unique and pretty amazing experience. And I tried to really savor it. We didn't know for certain that I was going to get a paint to sample slot. That's sort of held back until a little bit later, further down the line, where they confirm that or not. But yeah, got a call saying, yeah, we can give you a paint to sample slot if you want it. But if you do, you need to lock in the spec next week. So I went through that.
A rush on that one.
Yeah, a bit of a rush, but I kind of half knew what I was going to do. They said that you might get one, so therefore it's worth considering. So we went back and forth a couple of times, but no, pretty much locked that in. And then the car actually came a lot earlier than it was expected. It was not supposed to be here till kind of about now, March, April time. And it got brought forward. A couple of delays right at the end, but anyway, arrived in the UK in December, and I actually collected it early January. And yeah, I mean, I was just a bit mad. I still sort of half pinch myself that it's mine. I broke it in. I drove it back down to Austria, the same trip I did in the 911 Carrera, to sort of break it in. And that was at the end of January, and I haven't actually touched it since. So it's been really weird. The last 10 days I've started to drive it again because I just haven't been around. And I'm about to set off literally tomorrow morning. I set off on a whole load of adventures in it. So I think, it'll get 2,000-3,000 more miles on it very quickly, which I'm excited to do because I feel like I haven't bonded with it yet.
Yeah. Like, you need a good road trip.
Yeah, I know what it's about. I enjoy it a lot. I love the idea of it. I love the way it looks. I love everything, but I haven't got that firm bond yet, which will come with miles and time. So I'm just excited to get back out in it and see it in the sunlight. I actually haven't seen it in the sunshine yet because this country is a dump. So that I'm excited to see.
So was doing the same trip. Mm-hmm. Did you go down to one of the ice driving events?
It was theoretically GP Ice Race, which is a Porsche affiliated event, but not a Porsche event that hasn't been able to happen for 3 years now for various reasons.
No snow.
This year was no snow. The year before, 2 years before, were COVID. So this year got cancelled super last minute, but weirdly Porsche were doing the 911 Dakar drives at the same place. They sent me an email saying, well, if you're still going, you can drive the Dakar. I was like, I'll still go. So literally the exact same trip, which was kind of interesting, but less snow. I'm not going to sit here and tell you the differences or the GT3 is quite a horrible motorway cruiser. I'd underestimated that because obviously in the UK we're sitting most motorways are 65, 70 because traffic is everywhere. So that's 3,000, just under 3,000 RPM on a 992 GT3. Whilst in Europe, okay, fine, in France stuff like that, you're 80 odd. And then I went through a whole load of autobahn stretches. My God, I was like, take a breather, car.
Is your car manual or PDK?
Manual, yeah, manual. I prefer the looks of the winged 992. I actually think the touring 992 is a touch too aggressive. It's not as pretty as I think the old shape was, but I spec'd it like a touring. So it's got the comfy seats, it's got the manual gearbox, no roll cage. I've got Turbo S P0 tyres on there, not even Corsas, nothing. So yeah, it's a very comfy road spec.
Nice.
Theoretically. It is nice, but it may be a bit weird taking a car that's really designed for the track and
it's not. It's designed as a road car first, track car second.
Thank
RS is track car first, road second.
I appreciate you saying that. Hopefully a lot of people online will.
So what?
No, because I honestly, comment section is the last thing ever on my mind, but it's interesting to see a lot of people who say what a weird spec for a GT3.
I think it's quite normal.
You should have just got a touring. And I'm like, well, I couldn't. And also, this is the exact same car. It just has a wing on the back.
Yeah. So if I took the wing off,
it
would be a touring.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've suggested various times on the internet or whatever that things I've considered with my RS is getting rid of the cage. And I've always wanted to have one folding bucket seat. which would make using the backspace so much easier.
Yeah.
And like to miss out on having the harnesses, because it's the only real reason why a cage, other than it stiffens the car. I've not driven one with and without a cage to tell whether you really. I'm sure you can notice.
992, you can definitely notice. I drove them back to back, a caged car and a non-caged car.
That's quite interesting.
I actually freaked myself out because Porsche lent me a fully wing cage, Cup 2, like everything, and I drove it for a few days and I was like, oh my God, I don't want this car. Like this is, my wife was like, what have you bought? Like she was fuming. The dog wouldn't sit in it, freaked out by all the noises. And I was like, this is just too much. And then, to be fair, I drove a Touring. But as we know, it's an identical car. And was immediately like, thank God, manual Touring. So it was a PDK car, cage, Cup 2s. And then I drove a Touring manual P0 Corsas. And I was like, why is this so much softer? Like, why is this so much more supple? Like, what is going on?
Tires
was a big factor. Sidewalls apparently a little bit softer.
I think it's a huge factor.
Yeah, so that piston heads did a whole piece on it as well. And then Porsche said the cage really does make a difference on a UK road, on a Ghibli UK road, jobbly, bumpy. So yeah, so I think you would notice the difference.
But I just love to have the space. But everyone's like, why would you do that?
It's an RS.
Yeah,
You need the
maybe I'll take the
rigidity.
wing off as well. Then.
People have done that a lot with 992s. Lots of people taking off the wing.
It's a 2-minute job.
It's a 2-minute job, but supposedly it does make the car feel fairly unstable.
I can imagine.
Yeah, like
not at normal speeds though.
No, sort of over 60 odd. When does the active rear spoiler activate on a 992 Carrera S, for example, or a Touring? It's like 70.
Yeah, it's about
3
70.
or something. I was saying. They say that at those kind of speeds, it's like when you go past a truck on a windy day. You just stall a bit. I have a friend, I know a guy in Canada who did it, and he was like, "Nah, put it straight back on." So it's just not nice.
Yeah, and when you if you go on the Autobahn or something, you really notice the wing.
Yeah.
Obviously, you haven't done it without the wing, but you really notice with a car that's got a big wing like that how stable it is relative to a car that does not have that sort of
Hunkers you down
thing on the back. I think last time I saw you, I think you still had your 996.
Oh yeah, probably. Yeah, for sure. That was a short-lived. I wouldn't say it was a love affair, actually. I still love the 996. Like, I would have a 996 in a heartbeat. I actually think it's weirdly one of my favorite generations to look at. I obsess over 996s.
Interesting.
I want a Turbo S. I want a GT3. I want a GT3 RS. Like, I want them all. Like, I love the 996. And the 40th was probably kind of like one of the best for me shapes, like the GT Silver, like everything about it. But truth be told, it wasn't a dog, but that car did need a lot more work than I realised. And there was, even when we did everything. I turned up to Visac UK and just did everything. It was still giving me issues. And that was quite hard to accept. And if I'm honest, it was a bit too nice on the road. I wanted it to be a tad more edgy. I wasn't using it enough. You know, it was an occasion car, and it didn't quite reward that enough. So if I was using it every day, I probably would have loved it. But I was taking it out for the odd weekend, the odd sunny drive, and I was like, come on.
Yeah, that's when you edge towards the RS or
Exactly.
GT3, etc.
But
so you've been mooching around town on your GT3
literally last 10 days or so. But because I'm heading out on these trips, I just wanted to do some stuff. So I've done some filming with it anyway. And it's really been the first chance. Like, honestly, February and March, I basically haven't been here. like my life this year has just turned out to be insane, and having the chance to just go for a poodle in the GT3 hasn't really presented itself. So I've been out and about in it. I did some filming the other day with Paul Wallace, Supercars London. It's a much better road car than people make out. Everyone slags off the 992. It's too far. I disagree.
It's all relative and like where your head is on that day.
Yeah, and if you've just jumped out of a 991, fine, maybe. But it's a GT3. Like, I've honestly, apart from that crazy cupped PDK, whatever car that I drove from Porsche UK, I've really never got into a 992 GT3 and gone, this is too much. And I'm old. I'm old. I love a Bentley. So I would say if it was, I've never had that moment yet. But different horses for different courses.
It depends where you're driving and whatever and blah, 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 blah. But I was thinking about this today. So I drove up in my E-Class and that has slightly an annoying amount of tyre roar. But I think I've kind of got it in my head that actually it should just be silent. Dead silent. The silent that no car is. I think it should be that quiet.
Yeah.
Like
Did you have a new Range Rover yet?
Yeah, I went in a new Range Rover.
It's quiet.
I didn't think it was that quiet.
It's not silent though.
It's not silent.
Or their like noise cancelling thing. You're like, could cancel a bit more noise.
That's it. It's like, what do you start referencing against?
You know what's really quiet? The Mercedes EQS. That's quiet.
Do you want to know what's really quiet?
Go on.
If you've got some Apple AirPods Pro 2, the new ones.
Okay.
Put those
no
in.
need to show off.
And then, I know.
This is sounding at its AirPod 2s Pro.
If you put the noise cancelling on,
Yeah.
that is actually silent.
Yeah, fair.
Which is possibly a little too silent. But I did that in my RS the other day and I was like, I think I'm in an S-Class.
Hello. Fair play. Well, I'll try that out.
So where have you been? You said you've been away.
Yeah, I went everywhere, mate. It's been incredible. Let me think. I did the Austria trip, went to Patagonia with Porsche, which was a great trip.
Did you go to drive some e-fuels?
Did some e-fuels bits. I went to Italy a couple of times. Where else have I been? I have to look at my Instagram. Do you know, I just forget. But I've been everywhere. And then when I've been here, I've been changing nappies. So between the two, I just haven't had a lot of time. But yeah, my wife is very understanding. Where did I go between? I did something, then I went to Chile, and then I did something else. Anyway.
Where's your stance on EVs? There's no trick question here. E-fuels and sort of where transport might be in 10 years' time.
I actually find it a super exciting time because I don't think there is one solution. I think there's going to be various different options or routes to go. I think pure or BEVs, battery electric vehicles, will make a lot of sense in city centres, in developed countries. I think hydrogen is going to make a lot of sense in tractors, lorries, buses. Yeah. I think synthetic or E is going to make a lot of sense in motorsport and historic vehicles. I think there's so many different routes to look at. The thing that excites me a lot about E or synthetic is, yes, of course, as an enthusiast, it's a chance to keep a lot of historic vehicles on the road and preserve that history, but also an option for parts of the world that firstly are so like light years behind us in terms of EV infrastructure or EV adoption, but also from a cost point of view, it's just almost unfathomable for these places or people to think about changing in their £400 Toyota Hilux that they've been running for 16 years as an essential vehicle to get them around, to suddenly going, right, I'm now going to switch to an electric MG and charge it up. That's so unrealistic, where I think if synthetic or e-fuels can be focused in those parts of the world, those countries where they rely on a combustion engine, that makes sense, because the biggest problem with E or synthetic fuels is the scalability.
And then it's going to be price.
And price. But with all of these things, just like BEVs and hydrogen, like it will come down the more it's scaled up. But it's probably impossible for synthetics to fuel every single combustion engine vehicle in the world. That's
definitely impossible.
It's impossible. And so that's where the switch has to continue. That like the BEV stuff has to keep developing. I know they're talking about solid state batteries and I get confused. Is it lithium ion and then is it sodium ion that they're pushing now? Anyway, so like as the battery technology develops,
the cathodes and anodes into a different substance. Whatever. There's a lot going
on. Hydrogen combustion's coming to the forefront now with Toyota, I think, and obviously JCB are obviously doing a lot in that department too. So as we in the developed countries start switching towards new transport means or new technologies, I think, let's use synthetic and e-fuels for parts of the world that are very far behind us, but we still could help to reduce emissions. That's kind of where I'm at. And then also for us nerds that want to go racing.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting one because when you look at, let's say, I think we're going to have two problems in the UK if you're trying to keep running a combustion vehicle. But let's say you own a very cheap combustion car. You've paid £400 or whatever for it. You actually still spend quite a lot on fuel over the year. So over 5 years, you spend an awful lot on fuel. So if there are cheap EVs, of which we're starting to get like an early Leaf and stuff like that, which don't have much range, might have like 80 miles or something, but I think they're like a couple of grand.
10 or 12.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you could get down to like 5.
I think the really depleted ones are probably at 5 or 6, but the problem is charging capabilities, battery longevity, all that stuff. Their battery life is at like 40-45%. So what does it mean to you as a vehicle that you're going to try and use, and charging times, charging cost? And also you say the fuel thing, there's a lot of people that, I don't know the demographics of the UK well enough, but let's pretend you're in deepest, darkest Scotland. You might have a Defender or a £400 Volvo that you literally do 5 to 10 miles in a week. And so maybe actually you're only filling up your 60 or 70 quid, these days, 80 or 90 quid once a month maybe. Whereas to then switch to an electric vehicle, yes, you could go and buy...
That makes no sense. It makes no sense for that person
to switch.
You're just not doing the mileage. Yeah. It's a bit like... I think with these classic car conversions, when someone's spending 100 grand taking an old Mini, putting a very high voltage, high amp battery powertrain in it, and then driving around in it, you're like, this car, you were never going to drive it that much. You're doing actually more damage than good by doing this swap. On some levels. From a pollution point of view, it's better. I think it's cool for people to explore all these sorts of things. I think what we will have a problem with as more and more people switch to BEVs, which will happen. Like there's no doubt that's just going to happen. They're going to get cheaper, whatever. It's going to be for majority transport. What happens to petrol stations?
Yeah. Well,
and fuel prices accordingly.
And money in general, the government aren't going to sit back and watch themselves lose that kind of money from fuel sales. Charging publicly is already getting more and more expensive. And as the demand for electricity as a household increases, we're already in a cost of living crisis because of energy prices. So what's going to happen when there's an even higher demand because everyone's also trying to charge their electric vehicles? Because where I live, when I had that Mercedes EQS, the chargers at our house aren't working. So I had to go down the road to an Esso garage, and I can't remember the brand of charging, but it's a super fast 150 whatever. Plugged it in, and to charge the EQS cost me 56 quid. Yeah. Which at that point I'm like, well, from a cost point of view, I might as well just be running a combustion engine vehicle. I was going to do longer miles, blah blah blah. So the cost is definitely the biggest thing, but like China are already like miles ahead of us on here. They've got electric vehicles for £4,000 equivalent, and obviously NIO doing the battery swap technology as well. So like there's so much advancement to come. Like we're really still at such an early stage of BEV. So I'm with you there where it's going to get better and better and easier and all of that stuff. But what happens to the existing infrastructure? What happens to the existing vehicles? What happens to, old BEVs? I know you say that it's affordable to get into a heavily used... Do
you want to buy one?
Yes.
It's a different question. Well,
who buys...
We sort of look at... I think you probably have to separate it into different areas of the market, who's buying,
Because I don't think many people are buying used EVs full stop.
I think at the moment, not a lot are, because, well, personally, I had a E208 that's just gone back on a lease. So, and I would like to have another small EV. But I'm looking at the market and going, there's a lot of cars, and there's a lot of cars that have come off fleets. There's a lot of cars that have come off leases, people who have bought through a business. There's this whole part of the market, like all the incentives are around if you own a business or if you've got a company car. If you're a private buyer, there's no incentives. Yeah. So I don't know who, and you can't get the none of those stuff. It's all first time new cars. So none of those people are going to buy a secondhand EV. So who's going to buy all these EVs? The prices are just going to have to take a hit.
And that's what I hear from every single dealer I speak to, is that they are horrible news now. Used EVs, you cannot sell them, and they just lose money hand over fist. Anyone that I speak to, at least in the prestige, car dealing world, just will try not to touch an EV with a barge pole because there's such bad news on the used market. Because you're right, all the incentives are buy new, and also the technology moves forward so quickly. That's the other problem. You know, if you're looking at a 10-year-old Nissan Leaf or a 5-year-old whatever,
we're talking about like a 2-year-old Taycan.
Yeah, that as well. I mean, but across the board, everything moves forward. Because if you think about it, Taycans now actually are one of the worst performing in terms of range, charge, all that stuff like that. Okay, that's a great looking car. It's a great brand. It's a great performing car. It's one of the ones I would have, but not as an actual usable long distance EV, which is what I need.
It's not bad though.
Yeah, but it's 200 odd miles.
Yeah, and I know from my driving, if I can get let's say I can get in winter 200 miles, that is more.
That's plenty.
More than enough.
Fair.
And if I could get a Taycan for 50k, 45k, that's a great purchase.
What does that do for Porsche though? Do Porsche want Taycans at 45, 50k?
What are they going to do about it?
I don't know, but Ferrari wouldn't let that happen.
Cayennes, Macans, whatever. They get that though.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, you're right.
So I think the prices will come down. They will drop over this year an amount, possibly a reasonable amount. There's been some savage figures from like January, 10%, January 10% on like BMW iXs because they look like, an interesting design.
Great car though, I have to say.
I hear it's really good.
It's a great car. It's like a really, really good car. Like
it looks bad, but I hear it's a really good car.
Yeah, really good car. Really good car.
But the second-hand purchase, you're going, it's a great car, but people want quite a lot for it.
It's a really tricky one and a fascinating one, and that's why I'm excited, because there's so much ahead of us. There's so much change, and I actually think it's, as a petrol head, which is a weird way to call us now because less and less petrol cars, but as a car enthusiast, there's so much choice. Like if you're trying to get a new car, petrol, hybrid, diesel still exists, BEVs, the potential of synthetic fuels coming to save the day, and you can go buy a vintage or a classic, hydrogen combustion, hydrogen EV. There's so many options that it makes the choice of another car like tantalizing, and you're like, well, what do I do? Where do I go? Whereas before, you're like, I'll just get another 3 Series. From that point of view, still great.
Best mid-size
so
family car.
Did you get the 340i or the D?
I had a 340i.
340i. And did you have the one with the long screen, like the big screen?
No, it was
the pre-shape,
pre-facelift or whatever.
Okay, I'll talk to you about that afterwards. It's very nerdy.
What do you have at the moment?
X3 M40D is the wife's car, the family car, and then I've got the F-Type as my daily, but that's on the way out. Because my resolution was, I want a 4-door, 4-seat something, maybe not 4-door, but at least 4-seat something, so that as baby gets older, I can go to Goodwood and we can all go together, or we can go to the south of France and I can make videos. We have to get 2 cars. I don't see any point in replacing the X3 with something juicy.
Pause for a second.
Yeah.
Have you travelled with your child yet?
Yes.
Do you see yourself travelling with the amount of stuff that you take in a 911?
No, obviously what I meant was the shorter weekend, the shorter day trips. Because obviously if we're going to do weekends away, we need the SUV. But I half contemplated swapping the X3 for an M3 Touring or something like juicy. But the problem is, my wife doesn't want to drive anything like that. We had an RS6 for a while and she was like, I don't get it. And anyway, so she's best off in a little SUV.
And she likes
to be high up. She likes to be high up. Yeah.
But couldn't just put the seat up.
Yeah, she tried. An RS6 is a big, but anyway, long story short, if I get something juicy for like that car, I'm going to want to drive that. If I had an M3 Touring, that's the car that I'm going to want to jump in and drive. And then what's she going to drive? She's going to be left stranded. Yeah. So there needs to be the quite boring but very effective family car, of which that X3 we adore, although it's not as spacious as you would hope or think. And then I want to replace the F-Type with something, just a bit more. Yeah, that's got 4 seats, got 4 proper seats. That you know.
What is that going to be?
I know, but I don't want to say.
Okay. I went through. My kid is now 15 months old, and I went through a mad year. It's just having a kid. Was mad.
I was going to say. That's what you have to say.
In car stuff as well, of trying to go right. What's the perfect solution that I can go away for? Initially, you're like, oh, we'll go away for a weekend, and then you're like, nah, we're just going to take the big car.
You need so much space.
Also, with a small kid, you can't drive very fast.
No.
And I generally don't drive very fast with someone else in the car anyway, but you genuinely cannot accelerate or brake fast. So there's pretty much no point other than like, it looks cool. So then you need to get all your stuff in. So when I had the Lusso, I was like, oh, this is dreamy. Great. And then I kind of ran into you're the Ferrari person type thing. And I wasn't using it.
Sure.
So I was like, okay, no. And then I got the GTS that's going at the moment. He was too small to go in it at the moment. Because you can't go in the back until it's like what seat fits. That's the sort of,
because you have to rear facing for so long and
boring parenting type stuff. So he went in that car once, and that's gone. And now I'm just like, well, we just take the E-Class everywhere.
No, that's why I said 4 doors, because realistically, you're looking at the best option is fast saloon. Is realistic, because if you really try the Bentley Continental GT or Lusso or like, actually until they are 4 or 5 years old, it's super unrealistic, because you said the paraphernalia as well. By the time but fast saloon, proper boot, proper rear seats, proper space, and sometimes ability to put roof rack on as well. That's realistically the only route I think to go, unless you look at Tourings.
So you've got an M3 Touring. That's
no, we've already discounted that. But
I think the one that interests me a lot, I'd be interested to know, have you driven M5 CS?
Oh no, not the CS. I only hear great things, and I'm sure it's spectacular. I love M5 Competition, is one of my favorite all-time cars.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely adore it. M5 Competition, I think, is genius car.
I thought it was too stiff.
No, well, you heard what I said about GT3s, so maybe I'm the wrong person to ask.
Yeah. Then it's
a CS is only going to be stiffer, mate.
No, the CS is more compliant than the Competition, I hear.
No.
Yeah.
How come?
Well, because they've changed the suspension.
No. But surely they wouldn't have made it more. They wouldn't have made it any softer. It's a CS.
No, I think it rides better. That doesn't mean it's got less body control and stuff. It just handles. I think it just handles everything better.
Yeah,
but it has got those monstrous seats in it, which are quite cool, but they are slightly annoying.
Yeah, but that kind of thing is, I think, actually the route that you end up having to go.
And lots of people do. If you actually look out in the world at what people buy, you get a lot of people like myself that end up with a big wagon, a stupid wagon.
Sure.
Which is great and also stupid, and then you're driving down the motorway and you're like,
what am I doing?
Why am I getting 25 mpg everywhere? Is that a really good idea? But then you put your foot down occasionally and you're like, that's quite fun.
It's quite cool. But I think we all would love the idea of like DB11, DBS, or like 911.
No kids sitting in the back of that.
It's just, unless you're in it, it's unrealistic. And I think there's great content and there's great ideas around what is the most extreme dad car or family car, sports car that we could get. And you can make it work, but it's just not comfortable. And at that point, you're giving up so much just to say, oh, well, I've got a V12. I think fast saloon. There's a couple of like really out there bits if you look hard. And again, I don't want to reveal too many of my cards because this is a series coming soon to youtube.com/seen-through-glass.
Dad 4-door.
There we go. Coming to you in September 23.
That probably resonates with you.
That's the obvious one.
But yeah, it's an interesting space and there's lots of stuff in it. And the annoying thing is I generally, like this morning going to Silverstone, GT3 is parked on the drive and the E-Class is there. I take the E-Class.
Yeah.
Well, I'm like,
We're old, mate.
I am old.
Yeah, we're old.
In my head, I'm old.
Yeah. Long past those days of going, yeah, cool, let's take the Radical to Silverstone.
Yeah. Just down the M1.
Yeah, so easy. But that's fine. I'm all right with that. I did those journeys. I don't need to do them again. I drove the 4C like 3,000 miles around Europe. It was great. I loved it, but I'm not looking to do it again.
And if you said to me, you can go drive around Europe in a car, I would take the GT3.
With the family.
Yeah, obviously not with the
exactly.
family.
So that, of course, if you're
going to I think I'd be like, I want a camper van or something if I was going with family.
Yeah. I would like, yeah, fair. I'd like I don't know what I'd like. I'd like a Bentayga. I just want to waft.
Yeah, you just want to waft.
Just want to waft, and just look cool. I'm not fussed about going fast with all the stuff in the car and the kit. So I'm about to move, in inverted commas, such a YouTube thing, to Monaco for about 3 or 4 weeks, which we'll look at 8 weeks online. And we're taking a Range Rover Sport, a new Range Rover Sport.
Oh, nice.
Because I think it looks the bomb. It's super nice, super comfortable, and great. Just cruise, just chill. And that for me is the route to go, rather than I want to go and attack a colder Torini, and I'm not going to do it.
And if you are doing a task that involves practical stuff, having a practical tool, and if it looks nice and does all the stuff and is nice inside, which those are, happy days. Why? Yeah, bust your balls.
It's like when Lewis Hamilton went on Top Gear all those years ago, and Clarkson was like, "What do you drive?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, like a GLS 400D or something like that." Because he's like, "I'm a Formula One driver." I'm like, "What? I just want to cruise. I just want to waft."
Not proving anything.
Not proving anything. I go fast enough at the weekends. So I think we're super, super spoiled that we've got the keys to fast stuff. So when we're not doing the let's go for a fast drive or road trip or whatever, let's just cruise. I don't need to be in the Radical every day of the week. I just don't.
So you're not showcasing to everyone that you are a performance driver all the time.
Because I'm not.
You've not got your driving shoes on.
I'm not a performance driver. I'm useless. Nothing performance about me.
Purosangue.
Yes, Purosangue.
Did you drive that?
I did drive that.
What was it like?
I've sort of said a few different things on this, and my mind keeps changing about it. Really, 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 really good. Really good. But not an SUV in the sense of its performance. I felt more like it was a fast estate. Okay, it is an SUV. I keep fighting people on this. I will bow down and say, okay, fine, it's an SUV. But in the way it performs, handles, and feels, it's like a fast estate. It feels much more planted, much closer to the ground, far less lean. It's so accomplished. But having said that, it's one of the very few Ferraris that until I was driving the nuts off it, I found a tiny bit boring.
Yeah.
There's a famous thing about Ferraris that you can get in them, and even at 20 miles an hour, they give you the fizz, they give you the buzz, there's something exciting. Maybe, but I think in general, you sit in a Ferrari, even statically in a showroom, and Ferrari. This was one of the very few that they just don't seem to have quite given that, but their explanation is that's on purpose. This is supposed to be elegant, refined. They've purposefully made it quite quiet, all these different elements. But for me, I was a bit underwhelmed until I got onto a twisty road, turned it up to 10, and I was like, holy but Jesus, this is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I at no point ever could I consider, applaud, fathom 450 odd thousand pounds on. It's ridiculous.
I think with that, you kind of have to go, it is what it is. It's a bit like when I talk to some of these people making various resto mods and whatever, and they have a number, and I believe them. It's not like they're lying. It costs a lot to do this stuff, and they have a huge price, and you just go, yeah, that is what it is, and someone's going to pay it, or they're not going to pay it. And in the case of the Purosangue, they're paying it, and it's basically sold out.
Oh, it's Ferrari. They can do whatever they like type thing. The difference for me is if I won the Euro Millions, I had 150 million deposited in my bank tomorrow, I would buy a Bugatti Chiron without even questioning it. Without even thinking. I'd spec it to the nines. I'd pay 3.5 mil. I'd be like, yeah, sure, it's a Chiron. Even with that 150 mil in the bank, I couldn't spend nearly £500,000 on a Purosangue, because to me it's not a £500,000 car.
Yeah,
because it's an evolution of a Lusso. It is an
like
evolution.
A Lusso all road.
Literally that, and therefore I can't stomach that kind of money. Like I'd have a 599 GTO and then an X3. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I just
or a Lusso,
and
much more cash.
Yes, and an Alpina X7 or something. You know, that's the problem. If it was 250 plus options, I'd kind of be like, wow, cool, man. But the price just is that sting in the tail. I'm like, well, realistically, why? You know what? Like, why? Because you can drive it unbelievably fast, but would you ever? Because it's a 4-seater, so you're probably going to have the kid in.
Okay, so let's bring this back to you had an RS6 for a bit.
Yes. What
did having an RS6 live up to the I want an RS6 in your head?
No, not at all. That's why I had it for about 5 months.
How quickly did you come to that conclusion?
Before I'd even driven it. I got an offer for that car before I'd unveiled it on YouTube, and I very nearly accepted it. As in, I'd had the car a week, I think, and I went.
How did someone know you had it?
Because it was a unique spec. It was a green and tan car that a lot of people were bidding on.
Oh, okay.
And the dealership told people it sold. And a few people had just somehow worked it out.
That was a nice spec.
It was a very nice spec. I couldn't stop looking at that car. Unbelievable to look at. Did absolutely nothing for me. I think because of what we just were talking about a second ago, I am so spoiled, dude. I get to drive the most unbelievable cars. Over and above that, I have cars that I adore. I have the 360. Okay, I now have the GT3, but I had an F-Type at the time. Like, I had spicy stuff. I didn't need my daily to be spicy. And then on top of that, actually, it's heavy, it's big, it's not as exhilarating as one might think or suggest. Okay, fine, you get on the motorway and you're joining from a roundabout, you can give it large.
Yeah.
Great, but the rest of the time, you're just burbling around. And I was just like, and I'll be honest, the main thing was it was just losing money hand over fist. And I was watching that and I was like, I got to get this, is a sinking ship. Because I paid all the money for it because it was green and tan. So I was like, take all my cash or take the bank's cash and I'll pay them back. If it wasn't losing money hand over fist, would I have kept it longer? Yeah, probably. Because I did like it. I did really like it, but it was just pointless. I didn't need it. Yeah. I did not need an RS6. But at that time when I bought it, I was trying to change my life. I was like, spend the most money on the car that I use the most.
Yeah.
Like that should be, the car that I'm driving every day should be the really nice thing.
It's an interesting conundrum, that.
And then don't worry about because I borrow stuff all the time. But then I had this really nice daily and I was like, this is ridiculous. I don't need it. And I'm scared about where I park it and I don't want to curve the wheels and I'm worried that someone's going to nick it and it's way too ostentatious. So I was like, right, get rid of this. Have nice stuff at the weekend that I can hide away and drive around in an incognito X3.
Yeah, I think one of the cars, like if I was to drive around town, I occasionally, if I'm going to meet someone or whatever, I might take a nice car. But the rest of the time I'm in my E208, which is now gone. And like, I love it because I just park it up and I walk away and I'm not worried about it. And like, it doesn't make any noise.
We live in a major city. Like you genuinely have to think about crime. Like it's an actual thing. And if you're parking up anywhere in a super, super nice car and a super flashy car, there's a genuine thought that, okay, yes, it could get nicked, but it could get keyed. A window could get smashed. Like a million things. And also people drive like idiots in this city. Like I've had the 4C reversed into by a delivery van. I've had my Abarth rear window smashed into. I've had a wing mirror nicked from the X3. Like we live in a major city. Like it's unrealistic to just be like, yeah, cool, I'll just leave my 488 slammed on the side
on
of
the street. Yeah. My 177 parked on the street.
People do it. People do it.
Place
Go to Knightsbridge.
That square in London.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are actually running out of time.
I know. I was just rudely checking my phone. But
I know. That's why I was on my phone because I was like, when did we say? When did we say we had to end this? I agree, and I feel very similar about my E63. Like the more I drive it now, I really like it.
Yeah.
But there's a huge part of me that's like, what is the point?
Could you be as happy in an E400D? Probably not.
Most of the time. And I think the ride, it would be quieter, so they would tick that box, and the ride quality would be better, and like it would just cost less money.
It just wouldn't give you the same.
It wouldn't have the same. No.
That was my summary on M3 Touring. My summary, like I would save the 30 grand and get the M340i, but it would never give me the same pizzazz. Never. No. And that's the problem. That's,
And that's this annoying bit between. It's got most of the stuff. So my M340i Touring was really good. I wanted a bigger car. So that was you can't change that fact about it. But it was just a really bloody good car. But it was not an M3. And you drive an M3 and you're like, okay, yeah, this is an M3, and there's a lot about this that is more fun to drive, but also that make it worse as a daily driver. So like. I keep coming back to like my daily just needs to be chilled and easy, and I need to not care about it too much.
But just look good, look good, like
and look nice.
Yeah, I mean honestly, the X3, it's so dull as dishwater and everywhere. But the spec I'm really happy with, and every time I get in that car, I go, God, I love this thing. It's just so good. It's so nondescript, but it's just brilliant. It does everything I ask of it, and I'm like, it's brilliant. I'll have these forever. Like, I'm just like, okay, it needs more space, but. It is brilliant, and I'm much happier in that situation than I was with the RS6, 1,000,000%.
And then if you're like, I've got to get in, whatever, drive 10 hours somewhere to go drive something cool, I'm not going to spend like £200-300 on fuel, like just for the sake of it, just for fun, sitting on a motorway.
I do take the F-Type most of the time, so that is about 9 mpg. But that's going. So
right, let's start to wrap this up.
Sure.
You're going to have to come up with like 1 second answers for some of these.
Go.
End of the F-Type.
Yes.
It's a shame, isn't it?
Disaster. Awful.
I really want. Which F-Type do you have at the moment?
The newest, the last one, the last hurrah, not
which
the 75.
version?
The 575 all-wheel drive coupe.
I went and test drove the sort of like base V8,
the P450, the rear wheel drive one,
the rear wheel drive.
Yeah, sweet spot.
I drove that and was like, that is what I would have, and like I still in the back of my mind want one.
Two things: easiest tune in the world. You get it up to 550, like if you need it, and pull out the active exhaust fuse. You've got the old F-Type sound. Done. Amazing car. I actually don't want to sell it. I just need to sell it. Do you know what I mean? I've got 3 2-seater sports cars. Yeah. I've owned F-Types now for 15 years. I've got a GT3 and a 360. I can always get another F-Type further down the line. Anyway, but I genuinely love it, and I've put 10,000 miles on it in less than a year, and they're amazing. They're amazing cars.
Really nice. They're just really nice.
So nice, mate. So nice.
Right. If you can only drive one car for the rest of your life, and you've got £1,000 on something else, you don't have to necessarily say what that is. So you could have a super cheap practical family car.
Well, I will stay true to myself and my audience. Ferrari 360 Challenge Stradale. Done.
Manual conversion?
I don't. No, F1 box.
Fair play. Most undervalued car at the moment.
Undervalued.
Nothing.
Jaguar XE Project 8.
Oh, interesting. What do they cost?
People ask around 110, 115. True value's around 90. And there are some that trade at that. But
I think that's a cool car.
I think that will creep back up towards 170, 180 kind of list price-ish, I think. Anyway.
There aren't that many, are there?
No, they made less than they claimed as well.
Most interesting car to you at the moment?
Some of the electric stuff. I love that Hyundai Ioniq 6, the really slopey looking one. Super keen. Cool thing.
I'm really enjoying cars from those brands.
Yeah, I'm all over the Hyundai stuff. And then, let's go with that for now.
5-car garage. Unlimited value.
250 short wheelbase. Challenge Stradale. Because we're trying to be quick here. McLaren P1.
Interesting. Not one that's been flooded.
Bentley Bentayga, not ones that been flooded. Bentley Bentayga. And I'm trying to work out which Porsche. Let's just go because we're weird. 996 GT3 RS. Just because I'm feeling fruity.
Got expensive.
It was so stupidly,
in a year,
unnecessarily.
I think people are just making it up.
Yeah, it's a joke. Because I've been talking about it. Let's rip him off.
Because that was one of the ones I was like,
that's a
I
cool
think
car.
that's a good buy.
Yeah. And I
When they were
like the first off.
20 or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, I think that's. Yeah,
I love the
quite
first
raw,
off
cool.
of anything. It's a big reason why I like Stradale. So and that's the first 308. Like, so yeah, that weird. I would review that 5 cars, but let's just go with it.
Yeah, sweet. Well, thanks very much.
Oh, that's it.
On.
Okay, cool. I could have taken more time, but anyway.
No, I know we've got to cut off.
Yeah, we got to cut off. No, thank you very much.
Place to go, people to see, whatever. But yeah, thanks very much.
Thank you for having me back.